You'll regret this, Emily. Mark my words, you will regret this for the rest of your life.
Oh, here we go again. The dramatics. I'm 28 years old, Mom. I don't need your permission to live my life.
Permission? This isn't about permission. This is about you throwing away everything, your career, your future, your family, for some man you barely know.
His name is Marcus, and I've known him for 2 years. 2 years, Mom. That's longer than you knew Dad before you married him.
Don't you dare bring your father into this.
Why not? It's true, isn't it? You always told me you met him at that conference and married him 6 months later. At least I'm taking my time.
That was different. We were different. Your father he was solid, dependable.
Marcus is what? Black? Is that what you can't say out loud?
How dare you? I raised you better than to throw that kind of accusation around. This has nothing to do with race and everything to do with character. That man is taking you away from your family, from your career. You were supposed to make partner at the firm next year.
I am making partner, Mom, in Seattle. Marcus's firm offered me a position that's even better than what I have here. But you wouldn't know that because you won't listen to anything I say about him.
Seattle. You're moving 3,000 miles away for a man.
I'm moving for a life, for a future, for something that makes me happy instead of miserable like I've been here, living under your constant judgment.
My judgment? I've done nothing but support you your entire life. I sacrificed everything for you after your father died. Everything. And this is how you repay me.
I'm not repaying you, Mom. I'm living my life. There's a difference.
Fine. Fine. Go then. Go to Seattle. Marry your Marcus. But when it all falls apart, and it will fall apart, don't come crying back to me.
Is that a threat?
It's a promise. You walk out that door today, Emily Rose Carter, and you'll carry my disappointment with you every single day. You'll see it in the mirror. You'll feel it in your bones. And one day, when you have a daughter of your own, you'll understand exactly what you've done to me.
Wow. Just wow. That's really what you think love looks like? Guilt and manipulation?
You want to know what love looks like? Love looks like me working 3 jobs to put you through college. Love looks like me sitting by your bedside for 2 weeks when you had pneumonia in the 4th grade. Love looks like me turning down proposals from good men because I wanted to focus on raising you right. I never asked you to do any of that. You didn't have to ask. That's what mothers do.
No, Mom. That's what you do. You sacrifice and then you hold it over people's heads like a weapon. I won't live like that anymore.
Then go. But you'll see. You'll have a daughter someday, and she'll break your heart just like you're breaking mine. That's my curse to you, Emily. That's my mother's curse.
The words hung in the air between them like smoke, thick and choking. Emily stared at her mother, this woman who had raised her single-handedly for 20 years, this woman whose face now twisted with anger and something else, something that looked almost like fear. For a moment, Emily almost took it back, almost said she'd stay, almost reached out to bridge the gap that had grown between them over the past 2 years. But then she thought of Marcus, waiting for her in Seattle. She thought of the apartment they'd picked out together, the life they were building, the partnership at the law firm that would finally let her practice environmental law instead of corporate defense. She thought of all the reasons she was leaving, and none of them felt wrong.
I love you, Mom. I always will. But I can't stay just to make you happy. Not anymore.
She picked up her last suitcase and walked toward the door. Her mother didn't move, didn't speak, just stood in the middle of the living room like a statue of grief. Emily paused at the threshold, hoping for one last word, one last chance at reconciliation.
You see. You see what it feels like.
Emily closed the door behind her. 5 years later, Emily stood in a different living room, in a different city with a different life. The apartment in Seattle had become a house in the suburbs. The partnership at the firm had become a senior partnership. And Marcus? Marcus had become her husband, her partner, her home.
Sweetheart, you okay up there?
Just checking on Grace. She's finally asleep.
Emily looked down at the 3-year-old girl in the crib, her daughter, with Marcus's dark curls and her own stubborn chin. Grace had kicked off her blankets again, and Emily gently pulled them back over her small body. The child stirred, but didn't wake.
Sweet dreams, baby girl.
As she turned to leave, Emily caught sight of herself in the mirror above the changing table. Her mother's words echoed in her mind, as they had countless times over the past 5 years. You'll have a daughter someday, and she'll break your heart just like you're breaking mine. She had tried to reach out over the years, phone calls that went unanswered, letters that were returned unopened, even a visit to Boston that ended with her mother refusing to open the door. Sarah Carter had made her choice, and it seemed there was no going back.
Earth to Emily?
She jumped, not having heard him come up the stairs.
Sorry, didn't mean to scare you. You were a million miles away.
Just thinking about my mom.
Again?
I can't help it. Every time I look at Grace, I wonder if she's right. If one day Grace will hate me the way I mean.
Hey, stop. You don't hate your mother.
Don't I? I haven't spoken to her in 5 years.
That's her choice, not yours. You've tried, Em. God knows you've tried.
Have I? Or did I give up too easily?
You can't force someone to forgive you for living your own life. That's on her, not you.
Emily wanted to believe him. She did believe him, most days. But tonight, looking at Grace, she felt the weight of her mother's curse more heavily than ever. 14 years later, Emily sat across from her daughter in a different kind of standoff. Grace was 17 now, brilliant and beautiful, and so stubborn it sometimes took Emily's breath away.
Mom, you're not listening to me. I am listening. I just don't agree.
There's a difference?
Grace.
No, seriously. Because every time I try to tell you what I want, you act like you're listening, but then you just explain why I'm wrong.
That's not fair.
Isn't it? I want to take a gap year before college. I want to travel, maybe volunteer abroad, figure out what I actually want to study instead of just following the path everyone expects.
And I think that's a wonderful idea after you finish your undergraduate degree. You can take a year before law school or business school or whatever graduate program you choose.
Why does it have to be on your timeline? Why can't I make my own choices?
Because you're 17. Because the world is more complicated than you think. Because I've seen what happens when smart young women throw away their opportunities for.
For what? For living? For experiencing things? God, Mom, not everything has to be about career advancement and resume building.
I never said it was.
You don't have to say it. It's in everything you do, every conversation we have. Dad gets it. Dad understands that I need to find my own path.
Oh, so now I'm the bad guy and your father is the cool parent?
This isn't about being cool. This is about you trying to control my life.
I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to protect you.
From what? From making my own decisions? From possibly making mistakes? Newsflash, Mom, I'm going to make mistakes anyway. At least let them be my mistakes.
Emily felt something crack inside her chest. The words were so familiar, so painfully familiar. But she was on the wrong side of them now.
Grace, please, just listen.
No, you listen. I'm going to Ghana with the volunteer program, whether you approve or not. I've already been accepted. I've already raised the money. The only question is whether I go with your blessing or without it.
Ghana? You're talking about going to Ghana for a year, alone?
I'll be with a group. It's a reputable organization. I've done all the research.
Research? You're 17 years old. You've barely left the state.
And whose fault is that? You've been so focused on my academics, on my future, that you never let me actually live.
That is not true. We've taken family vacations. We've
guided tours and museum visits. Yeah, real adventurous, Mom.
I will not apologize for exposing you to culture and education.
I'm not asking you to apologize. I'm asking you to let me go.
The silence that followed was deafening. Emily looked at her daughter, tall now, almost as tall as Marcus, with his kind eyes but her own fierce determination, and saw herself at 28, standing in her mother's living room, demanding the right to live her own life.
I can't just let you go halfway around the world. You're still my baby.
I'm not a baby anymore. And you can't keep me here just because you're afraid.
Afraid of what? You think you can just do what you like? You have no idea
of being alone, of losing control, of whatever it is that's been eating at you my whole life. Dad told me, about your mom, about how she cut you off when you moved here.
Emily's blood ran cold.
He had no right.
He had every right. I asked him why you're so intense about everything, why you always seem scared that I'm going to disappear. He told me about your mom's curse.
It's not a curse. It was just something she said in anger.
Was it? Because it seems to me like you've been living under it for my entire life. Like you've been waiting for me to break your heart.
That's not true.
Isn't it? You've been holding on so tight, Mom. So tight that I can't breathe sometimes. I need you to trust me. I need you to let me make my own choices, even if they're not the ones you would make.
Emily felt tears stinging her eyes. When had her daughter become so wise? When had she stopped being the one with all the answers?
What if something happens to you?
What if something happens to me here? What if I spend my whole life playing it safe and never really live? Wouldn't that be worse?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Mom, I'm going to go. I need to do this. The only question is whether we're going to fight about it until I leave, or whether you're going to support me.
Emily looked at her daughter, really looked at her, and saw not a child, but a young woman on the brink of her own life. And she realized, with a clarity that was almost painful, that her mother's curse was never about Grace breaking her heart. It was about Emily becoming the kind of mother who would rather break her own heart than clip her daughter's wings.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, you can go. But you have to promise me video calls twice a week. And you take your anti-malarials. And you listen to the program directors and...
Mom, I promise. I promise all of it.
Grace threw her arms around Emily, and for a moment Emily let herself hold on tight. This girl who had grown up too fast, this young woman who was so ready to fly.
Thank you. Thank you for trusting me. I do trust you. It's the world I don't trust.
I know, but I'll be okay, I promise.
6 months later, Emily sat in front of her laptop, waiting for Grace's face to appear on the screen. It was their usual Tuesday night call, and Emily had come to both dread and cherish these moments. Dread because they reminded her how far away her daughter was. Cherish because they let her see how happy Grace had become.
Mom, can you see me? The connection is terrible tonight. I can see you. You look different. I got braids. Some of the women in the village taught me how to do them. Do you like it? You look beautiful. You always look beautiful.
How are you? How's Dad?
He's good. Working on a big case. He misses you. I miss him too. I miss both of you. But Mom, this place, it's incredible. The work we're doing, the people I've met, I can't even describe it. Try.
And Grace did. She talked about the school they were building, about the children she was teaching, about the families she'd lived with, about the ways her understanding of the world had shifted and expanded. Emily listened, her heart swelling with pride even as it ached with missing her.
Oh, and Mom, something kind of crazy happened. Define crazy. So, you know how you always told me to keep my passport and important documents in a safe place? Please tell me you didn't lose your passport. No, nothing like that. But I was looking through my documents and I found that old address book you gave me. The one with emergency contacts. The one with Aunt Linda and Uncle Robert's information. Yeah, but there was another address in there, in Boston, your mom's address.
Emily's breath caught.
Grace, I wrote to her, Mom. You what? I wrote to her. I told her who I was. I told her about Ghana, about my life, about you and Dad. I told her that I thought maybe she'd want to know that she had a granddaughter. Grace, you shouldn't have. She wrote back.
The world seemed to stop spinning.
What? She wrote back, Mom, she wants to meet me. When I get back to the States, she wants to meet me. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. I know things between you two are complicated. But Mom, she's my grandmother. Don't I have a right to know her?
Emily thought about all the years of silence, all the pain and anger and regret. She thought about her mother's curse, about the fear that had haunted her for nearly 18 years.
You do. You absolutely do. Did she mention me? She asked about you. Asked if you were happy. What did you tell her? I told her you're the best mom in the world, that you're strong and brave, and that you taught me to follow my dreams even when it's scary. I told her she'd be proud of the woman you've become.
Emily couldn't speak. The tears were coming too fast now.
Mom, are you crying? I'm okay. I'm so proud of you. Of what? That you'll meet her and realize I kept you from her all these years. Mom, I'm not stupid.
I know she's the one who cut you off. I know this is complicated. But maybe it's time to fix it.
I wouldn't even know where to start.
How about you come with me? When I get back, we could go to Boston together.
Grace,
Think about it, please. You don't have to decide now, but just think about it.
okay, I'll think about it.
3 months later, Emily stood on a familiar street in Boston, her hand in Grace's, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. The brownstone looked the same as it had 18 years ago. The same brick facade, the same green door, the same window boxes where her mother had always planted geraniums.
You ready? No, but let's do it anyway.
Grace squeezed her hand and rang the doorbell. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the door opened and there she was, Sarah Carter, older now, her hair more gray than brown, new lines around her eyes and mouth, but still unmistakably her mother.
Emily. Mom.
They stared at each other across the threshold, across 18 years of silence, across a lifetime of hurt. Then Grace stepped forward.
Hi, Grandma. I'm Grace.
Sarah's eyes moved to Grace, and Emily saw something break open in her mother's face, joy and sorrow all mixed together.
Oh my God. Oh my God, you're beautiful.
Can we come in?
Yes, of course.
They followed Sarah into the house, into the living room where Emily had stood all those years ago, ready to leave for Seattle. The furniture was different, but the bones of the room were the same. Sarah gestured to the couch.
Can I get you anything? Coffee? Tea? We're fine, Mom. Thank you.
The formality was excruciating. Sarah sat in the chair across from them, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes moving between Emily and Grace as if she couldn't quite believe they were real.
Grace tells me you're a senior partner now at an environmental law firm. Yes, we handle mostly climate change litigation and conservation cases. That's wonderful. You always cared about that, even as a girl. You remember that? Of course I remember. I remember everything.
An awkward silence fell. Grace looked between them, then took a breath.
Okay, I'm just going to say it because you two are clearly not going to. Grandma, you hurt my mom really badly when you cut her off. Mom, you've hurt yourself by carrying that pain for almost 20 years, and I think it's time you both let it go.
Grace.
No, let me finish. I don't know exactly what happened between you two. I know some of it, but not all of it. And honestly, it doesn't matter. Well, life is too short to waste it on pride and stubbornness.
Grace, it's more complicated than...
Is it though? Grandma, do you love my mom?
Of course I do. I never stop loving her.
And Mom, do you love Grandma?
Yes. Even after everything, yes.
Then start there. Start with love and figure out the rest.
Grace stood up, pulling her phone from her pocket.
I'm going to go for a walk. Give you two some time to talk. I'll be back in an hour.
Grace, you don't have to. Yeah, I do. You need to do this without me playing referee.
She kissed Emily on the cheek, then did the same to Sarah, who looked startled but pleased. Then she was gone, leaving Emily alone with her mother for the first time in 18 years.
She's remarkable. She is. She gets that from Marcus mostly. The wisdom and the kindness. And the stubbornness. That's all you and me.
Sarah laughed, a sound Emily had forgotten she'd missed. Then the laughter faded, and the weight of all those years settled between them again.
I'm sorry, Emily. I'm so sorry. Mom. No, let me say this. I need to say this. I was wrong. About Marcus, about Seattle, about all of it. I was so scared of losing you that I pushed you away, and then I was too proud to admit my mistake. I convinced myself that you were the one who needed to apologize, that you were the one who had wronged me. You were hurt. I understood that, even then. Hurt doesn't excuse cruelty. And that curse I laid on you, Emily, I've regretted those words every single day since you walked out that door.
Do you want to know the worst part? It almost came true. When Grace was born, I was so terrified of making your mistakes that I nearly made different ones.
I held on too tight. I tried to control everything. I almost became you, Mom. But you didn't. No, because Grace wouldn't let me. She fought for her independence the same way I fought for mine. And this time I chose differently. I chose to trust her. I chose to let her go. That's the hardest thing. Letting go.
Is that why you held on so tightly to me? Because you'd already lost Dad?
Your father was the love of my life. When he died, you were all I had left. The thought of losing you too, it was unbearable. But you didn't lose me, Mom. I moved to Seattle. I built a life. I would have shared it with you if you'd let me. I know that now. God knows I know that now. I've missed so much. Your wedding, Grace's childhood, 18 years of your life. We can't get those years back. No, but maybe we could start again from here.
Emily looked at her mother, this woman who had raised her, hurt her, haunted her for nearly 2 decades. She thought about Grace's words about starting with love and figuring out the rest. She thought about the curse that had hung over her head for so long, and she realized that the only power it had was the power she gave it.
I'd like that. I'd really like that. Would you tell me about them? About Marcus and Grace? About your life? Only if you tell me about yours. About these past 18 years. About what you've been doing, who you've become. I'm not sure you'll like what you hear. I've been small, bitter. I threw myself into work at the hospital, took extra shifts, volunteered for every holiday so I didn't have to face the fact that I was alone. You didn't have to be alone. I know that now. But at the time, it felt like the punishment I deserved. Mom, you don't deserve to be punished. And neither do I. We both made mistakes. We both hurt each other. But we're here now. We're here now.
Emily reached across the space between them and took her mother's hand. Sarah's grip was tight, almost desperate, and Emily squeezed back just as hard. They sat like that for a long moment, 18 years of silence, slowly cracking apart.
Tell me about Grace. Tell me everything.
So Emily did. She told her mother about Grace's birth, about those terrifying early weeks when Emily thought she'd never figure out how to be a mother. She told her about Grace's first words, her first steps, her first day of school. She told her about the piano recitals and soccer games, the science fairs and debate competitions, the late-night talks and early morning pancakes. She told her about watching Grace grow from a baby into a child, into a brilliant, compassionate young woman who had somehow turned out better than Emily could have hoped. And Sarah listened, tears streaming down her face, mourning all the moments she'd missed, while simultaneously celebrating the fact that Emily had created such a beautiful life.
She's going to Ghana? For a year? She came back 2 weeks ago, actually. She extended her trip by 3 months. Apparently, the volunteer program asked her to stay and help train new arrival. And you let her? I learned to let her make her own choices. It was that or lose her entirely. You're a better mother than I was. No, Mom. I'm just a different mother. And I had your example, both the good parts and the hard parts to learn from.
The front door opened and Grace's voice called out,
Okay, it's been an hour. Am I allowed back in or do you need more time?
Come in, sweetheart.
Grace appeared in the doorway, looking between them with cautious hope.
So, we good? We're getting there.
Good, because I'm starving and I was hoping Grandma might make us dinner. Mom told me you make the best lasagna in Boston.
I did tell you that when I was about Grace's age. Before we stopped speaking about anything that mattered. I still make it. Same recipe. Would you both stay for dinner?
We'd love to.
They moved into the kitchen and Emily watched as her mother and her daughter worked side by side, Grace chopping vegetables while Sarah prepared the pasta. They talked easily, naturally, as if they'd known each other for years instead of hours. And Emily realized that Grace had inherited something from both of them, Sarah's resilience and Emily's determination, but tempered with a wisdom that came from somewhere entirely her own.
Emily, would you set the table? The dishes are in the same place they've always been.
Sure, Aunt Sarah.
Emily opened the cabinet and found her grandmother's china, the plates they used to use for special occasions. She carried them to the dining room, setting 3 places at the table where she'd eaten 1,000 meals as a child. As she worked, she heard Grace and Sarah laughing about something in the kitchen, and the sound was so right, so healing, that Emily had to stop and just breathe it in. The curse was broken, not by Grace breaking Emily's heart, but by Grace teaching her how to keep it open. Not by repeating the past, but by choosing differently. Not by punishment or revenge, but by love and forgiveness and the simple act of showing up.
Mom, you okay?
Yeah, I'm perfect. Liar, you're crying. Happy tears. I'm allowed happy tears. Come help us finish dinner. We're making your grandmother's recipe. Your great grandmother, I mean. The one she brought from Ireland.
Emily joined them in the kitchen, and the three of them worked together. 3 generations of stubborn, brilliant, complicated women, creating something new from the remnants of what had broken. They laughed and talked and argued about how much basil to add to the sauce. They told stories and shared memories and built new ones. And when they finally sat down to eat, the food tasted like redemption.
I want to make a toast. To what? To second chances. To Grace for being brave enough to reach out to an old woman she'd never met. To Emily for being brave enough to come back. And to all of us for choosing love over fear. To choosing differently than our mothers. And to our daughters who teach us how.
They clinked their glasses together, and Emily looked at her mother and her daughter, these women who had shaped her and challenged her and ultimately saved her from becoming someone she didn't want to be. The curse her mother had spoken 18 years ago had been rooted in fear, fear of loss, fear of change, fear of letting go. But love, Emily had learned, required letting go. It required trust. It required believing that the people you loved would find their way, even when that way led them far from you. And maybe that was the real lesson. Not that daughters would inevitably break their mothers' hearts, but that mothers had to let their hearts break a little to set their daughters free. The breaking wasn't a curse. It was a gift. It was the price of love and the proof of it.
This is really good, Grandma.
Thank you, sweetheart. Maybe next time you visit, I'll teach you how to make it.
Next time? So there's going to be a next time?
If you'll have me. If you both will. I know I can't make up for the years I missed, but I'd like to be part of the years to come, if that's okay. More than okay, Mom. It's what I've wanted for a long time.
The evening stretched on, filled with conversation and laughter and the occasional comfortable silence. When it was time to leave, Sarah walked them to the door, hugging Grace first, then Emily. The hug lasted a long time, and when they finally pulled apart, both women had tears in their eyes.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for giving me another chance. Thank you for taking it. Emily, that curse I put on you is broken. Grace and I, we're okay. We're better than okay. I see that. And I'm so grateful. You did what I couldn't do. You let her go and kept her close at the same time. I learned from the best and the worst. You gave me both, Mom. That's more generous than I deserve. Maybe, but it's the truth.
Are you two going to cry some more? Because if so, I'm going to need tissues.
They all laughed, breaking the tension. Sarah pulled Grace into one more hug.
Thank you, Grace, for being stubborn enough to write to a grandmother you'd never met, for caring enough to try.
That's what family does, right? We try, even when it's hard.
When did you get so wise?
I have good genes. Apparently, stubbornness and wisdom run in the family.
Emily and Grace walked to their rental car, and Emily turned back one more time to see her mother standing in the doorway waving. The sight brought back 1,000 memories. Leaving for school as a child, going to prom, moving to college. But this time felt different. This time, she was coming back.
You okay, Mom? Yeah, I really am.
Good. Because Dad's expecting us home tomorrow, and I think you owe him a really long phone call about all of this.
He's going to say, I told you so.
Probably. But he'll be nice about it.
They got in the car, and as Emily pulled away from the curb, she watched her mother in the rearview mirror until the brownstone disappeared from view. Grace reached over and squeezed her hand.
I'm proud of you, Mom. I know that was hard.
Worth it, though.
Yeah, totally worth it.
They drove in comfortable silence for a while, heading toward their hotel. Emily thought about the long road that had brought her here, from that angry departure 18 years ago to this tentative reconnection. She thought about all the ways she'd tried to avoid becoming her mother, only to realize that becoming her mother wasn't the curse. The curse was believing that love had to look like control, that caring had to look like holding on.
Grace, can I ask you something?
Sure.
How did you know that writing to your grandmother was the right thing to do? I didn't know. I saw how much it hurt you having that hole in your life. And I thought, what if I could fix it? What if I could give you back your mom?
You're 17. You shouldn't have to fix your mother's problems.
Maybe not, but I wanted to. And anyway, it wasn't just for you. I wanted to know her too. I wanted to understand where I came from, all the pieces of me.
And now that you've met her, she's complicated. I can see why you fought. I can see why you left. And I can also see why you missed her. She's got this strength, this toughness. But underneath it, she's scared. Scared of being alone, scared of losing people. I recognize that. From me, from both of us, we're all scared of something, Mom. The trick is not letting the fear make our choices for us.
Emily glanced at her daughter, this remarkable human being she'd brought into the world, and marveled at the person she'd become. Grace was right. They were all scared. But Grace had learned to face her fear head on, to choose courage over comfort, connection over safety.
When did you get smarter than me? I've always been smarter than you. You just noticed. Fair enough.
They spent that night in the hotel, ordering room service and watching bad movies, and talking about everything and nothing. The next morning, they flew back to Seattle, back to Marcus and their life there. But something had shifted. Something had healed. Over the next few months, Emily and Sarah talked every week, tentative at first, then with growing ease. They shared stories and recipes and memories. They talked about Sarah's work at the hospital, about her decision to finally retire. They talked about Emily's cases, about Marcus's work, about Grace's plans for college. And Grace, brilliant Grace, became the bridge between them, calling her grandmother to share news, sending photos, making sure that the fragile connection they'd rebuilt stayed strong. 2 years later, Emily stood in her backyard in Seattle, watching as Sarah helped Grace hang lights for the graduation party. Grace was heading to college in the fall, not the school Emily had wanted or the major Sarah had suggested, but a program in international development that Grace had chosen for herself. And both her mother and her grandmother had learned to support her choice, even when it scared them.
They look happy together.
They do, don't they?
I'm proud of you, for taking that chance, for going to Boston.
I'm proud of me too. It's weird to say that, but it's true.
It's not weird. You did something really hard, and it worked out. You're allowed to be proud.
Emily leaned into her husband, grateful for his steadiness, his kindness, his ability to see her clearly and love her anyway.
Mom, Grandma wants to know where you keep the extension cords.
In the garage, second shelf. I'll get them. You stay there and supervise.
Emily laughed, watching her mother bustle toward the garage with the same determined energy she'd had when Emily was young. Some things never changed. But the important things had. They'd all learned to bend instead of break, to listen instead of demand, to love without controlling.
Hey, Mom, I want to talk to you about something.
Uh-oh, that sounds ominous. It's not bad. At least, I don't think it's bad. I've been thinking about the gap year thing again.
Emily felt her stomach clench, old fears rising up, but she breathed through them, remembering the lessons she'd learned.
Okay, tell me what you're thinking.
What if I did a semester abroad in my junior year? There's a program in South Africa that focuses on conservation and sustainable development. It's through the university, so it would count for credits, and it's only 4 months instead of a full year.
South Africa.
I know it's far, but Mom, it's an incredible opportunity, and I promise I'll be safe. I'll video call all the time.
Grace, breathe. I'm not saying no.
You're not.
I'm not. I'm saying, tell me more. What excites you about this program? What would you be doing there?
Grace's face lit up, and she launched into an enthusiastic description of the program, the research projects, the community partnerships, the chance to apply what she was learning in real-world contexts. Emily listened, asking questions, expressing concerns, but never once saying she couldn't go.
What did I miss?
I'm telling Mom about the South Africa program.
South Africa, that's wonderful. When do you leave? Mom, she hasn't even applied yet. Details, she'll get in. Look at her, she's brilliant.
Thanks, Grandma.
Sarah, you're not going to try to talk her out of it, are you? Would it matter if I did? Not even a little. She's got our stubbornness.
And your wisdom, apparently.
Let's not get carried away. Wisdom is something you earn through making mistakes. Your mother and I have plenty of that.
Mom's right. We're experts in the wisdom that comes from screwing up. Well, then I'm in good hands. I've got 2 generations of screw-ups to learn from.
They all laughed, the sound carrying across the yard, and Emily realized that this was what breaking the curse looked like. Not preventing heartbreak, but choosing love anyway. Not avoiding mistakes, but learning from them. Not holding on so tight that things shattered, but opening your hands and trusting that what was meant to stay would stay. Her mother's curse had been rooted in fear, but Grace had shown them both that love was stronger than fear. That sometimes the greatest gift you could give someone was the freedom to find their own way, even when it scared you, even when it broke your heart a little. And in the breaking, in the letting go, in the choosing to love without controlling, that's where the real magic happened. That's where the real blessing was.
Emily, you're crying again. Happy tears, Mom. Just happy tears. Good, because we have a party to get ready for, and I refuse to let you ruin your makeup.
Grandma, you sound exactly like Mom right now.
Well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, even when it rolls to Seattle,
Or Ghana, or South Africa, or wherever I end up next. But I'll always come home. You know that, right?
Emily looked at her daughter, this brilliant, brave young woman who had taught her more about love than anyone else ever had. She looked at her mother, who had found her way back after so many years lost. She looked at Marcus, who had stood by her through all of it, and she realized that the curse was never about daughters breaking their mothers' hearts. It was about mothers learning that the breaking was part of the loving, that you couldn't have one without the other.
I know. And wherever you go, we'll be right here cheering you on.
Thank you.
They laughed again, and Emily felt something settle in her chest, a peace she hadn't known she was looking for. The party started soon after, filled with Grace's friends and teachers, neighbors and family. Sarah stayed close, meeting people, telling embarrassing stories about Emily as a child, making everyone laugh. Grace moved through the crowd with ease and grace, thanking people for coming, accepting congratulations on her graduation. And Emily watched it all, this life she'd built, these people she loved, this home she'd created 3,000 miles from where she started. She thought about that day 18 years ago when she'd walked out her mother's door, carrying a curse she thought would haunt her forever. But curses only had power if you believed in them. And love, real love, the kind that let people be who they needed to be, was stronger than any curse ever could be. The evening faded into night, the lights in the backyard glowing warm against the darkness. Grace made a speech, thanking her parents and her grandmother for supporting her, for believing in her, for letting her find her own path. Emily felt Marcus take her hand on one side, felt her mother take it on the other, and she squeezed both, grateful for this moment, this family, this love. And Emily raised her glass, knowing that the curse was finally, truly broken. Not because Grace hadn't broken her heart, she had, 100 times, in 100 small ways. Every time she grew up a little more, every time she pulled away, every time she chose her own path instead of Emily's plan. But that breaking had made room for something stronger, something better. It had made room for trust, for faith, for the kind of love that didn't need control to survive, the kind of love that could let go and still hold on, the kind of love that could see your daughter spread her wings and fly, and celebrate instead of grieve. That was her mother's real gift, not the curse, but the chance to choose differently, to love better, to be brave enough to let her heart break if it meant her daughter could soar. And in the end, that was the greatest blessing of all.